can't stop thinking of you, and I can't stop dreaming of you. We're hoping for that moment that can happen. We're just laughing. I want to be with you. I know they can see it too. And now we begin with slow death and eventually sacrifice. Just to feel it. To experience that bliss in losing everything.
In that moment, it all faded away. All memory. All life before now, lost and gone. Thrust away into that tempest where I would float like a leaf to wherever it would take me. And as the memory faded away, so did my heart. There, a flash, one last grave image of that beating soul, that organ which I held in my hands, also faded away. All light taken from me, death, my salvation. What turmoil which swept across the world, what pervading wind which clasped its hands around all it met. It grew there in its silence to claim the mind of man. There I await within this purgatory, one which I made myself, where I sought to escape that place, my prison. I waited and waited. No relief. No stop to this turmoil. Soon enough, in that faint quiet of my cell, I could hear a voice reaching out to me. Like a foul wind blowing across a dying land, it reached out. It held my hand. Then she looked at me with those dark brown eyes, breaking me from a spell that wrapped itself throughout my being. Some otherworldly place which danced between thoughts. And just like that, I was back again.
Were you still going out for a trick?
She dabbed a bead of moisture from her face, ritualistically, to replace the dirty rag upon her bed. I shook myself from my absent mind. What? She gave me a look of confusion, then placed her hand upon my shoulder. With a smile, she said,
You're a fool, you know that?
With a laugh, she returned herself back to that tattered book. One which was read many times over and over. Same ending in sight, yet one adventure too good to pass up. Will you love me? I said desperately, and even more surprisingly as I wiped warm sweat from my soaked brow. She only stroked my cheek and turned away. Her eyes abandoned mine, never filled with the desire I placed in them. My eyes fell around that tent which closed us away from all the others, that little haven, one truly our own. Love is not for a people like us, she would often say, and she was right. There was a time gone and truly over. I could hear remnants of chatter just outside her tent. It broke the spell, and there I poked my head through that veil, and I peered around to the sudden reminder of my lot in life. The Colosseum. Oh, what a grand city, if you want to call it that. With the grounds once sacred, now a common floor, where fans would come and roar, now replaced by survival and quiet desperation. I looked up to the scoreboard out beyond the field and knew the grand architect watched over us there. That quiet watcher in the distance on that giant screen. He looked over his citizens with bated breath. A true ruler of the Colosseum. His vision of a new city after the collapse of New Ionia was little more than a desperate attempt to hold that veneer of civilization still. He was graced as a king. All folks saw him as savior, but he was little more than a baron of some decrepit stadium. The last vestige of man, while the swarms of plagues wrapped themselves around its reach, rapping on the door of man's last hope. The long, high hallways were packed with concession stands turned marketplace. A place where the dispossessed gathered. A place where trade came and went with outsiders. And even a place for people like me, a no-good rent boy, at your service. The day was sticky and boiling hot. That damn sun beat down on me. oppressing wherever I would go. There was no escape from the human reach, save for deep within the bowels of the Colosseum. Those dark painted arrows on the cracked floors still pointed somewhere, but no one remembers who they were guiding or why. Rooms with forgotten words, places where only the slaves would keep the machine still breathing. It was cold there, but never did a soul venture down to those depths on purpose. The heat now unbearable, I decided to head out for a trick. There I waded my way through the field of tents and off to the market district. I could not help but recall the games that once were played on this field. Now no more than a campsite for survivors, a sea of tents. Oh, those great championship games I once witnessed as a child, now no more than a forgotten memory. The Aeons no longer a name of a team, but are new rulers of a modern nightmare. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. After New Aeonia fell, the last ward against the darkness crept around these high walls. But we were safe here. Yet for how long? After all, the forest grows hungry each year, never satisfied. Gangs, rape, and murder, well, it was commonplace here in the Colosseum. Society really fell hard when we thought the end was coming. Now only a shot away. I was in desperate need of food, and that meant money, though the only way one could really make any scratch was to sell themselves. I'm sure I don't need to go any further with an explanation. Lust grows in the quiet of the mind, and sex was no more than a momentary distraction. I was more than happy to oblige any and all, as long as the money was there in the end. Through the market halls I wandered. No takers. I climbed the steps to the upper deck. Potential money might be found there. Folk better off in life. Yet as I perused about, there was still no luck. With the rumbling in my stomach, I simply lost myself looking out over the city. The pitcher's mound out there, that central point. I looked on the tallest tent. If only I could be like that. I would give anything just to live one day in those shoes. Oh, some half-forgotten song, a memory before my life fell away. Anyway, it was in that quiet moment to myself there came a smooth breeze. Its cold touch sweetened my sweat-covered body, a bliss that took me fully. I closed my eyes, turned my head to the heavens, and that's when I heard it. A quiet thought which grew in my mind, one that would change my life forever.
Awaken yourself. Come to me. Come to your sanctuary, your land of promise. A place where the plague has not touched.
There was a flash, and I could see it. Out beyond the dense wood, a massive building, some compound of safety, where freedom was within my grasp. But there it vanished. That strange vision to only be replaced with,
Bring those that would follow you and lead the people to salvation.
and then it stopped. My heart pounding, I opened my eyes again, and the world came back to me. Though I could still see it, I could see thousands of people wandering naked in the darkened forest until we saw him, that man who would save us, whoever he was. I didn't know if it was just some imagination playing itself through me, or if I was just plain crazy. Had he taken me? Or was that the voice of God himself? Why me? Before I could think any more, I was disrupted by a voice that said, "You look deep in thought, my friend." I snapped my head round to see a man not much older than I. He wore a necklace with a small skull on it, most likely from a rat or something, and his face looked more of an elk than a man, though his dark goatee framed that handsome face very well. I had never seen this man before in my life, but felt his queer look on more than one occasion before. At first I was afraid, but his demeanor did not take me as one who would rob me. Then my next thought was he wanted a piece, something I didn't want to admit. Yet I wouldn't come to such a conclusion out loud. There was no telling who could hear us, and that would be a grievous mistake to make with a man as mysterious as what looked back at me. Instead, I remained quiet, waiting for his next move. I've often come here myself for those very same thoughts that plague you, in fact. And what thoughts are those? doubt, he said coldly as he lit a cigarette. I watched him take a deep hit, then let it out like steam from a cracked pipe. My lips quivered for such a taste, though he became more and more familiar to me as he manifested there, and it became increasingly clear he may be in a gang, someone never to cross. Listen, man, I didn't mean to step on your turf. I can just leave if you want me to. No, it's okay, my friend. Just stay with me a while. Here. There he handed me a fresh cigarette. It was freshly rolled, and the smell of that tobacco already told me that this was a power move. What he could get, of what he was capable of. A friendly gesture of something most folk would die to get their hands on, and he knew that, as well as I. I carefully took it from his outreached hand. There he would courteously light it for me. And then I felt that harsh cloud pass into me. I let out a hushed breath where my body relaxed as I leaned casually on the railing. I feel like I've seen you before. Name? I'm, Herias. With that, his eyes lit up, a man face to face with his prize. Herias? A strange name. Well, it's my last name, actually. Huh. And your first name? He laughed with smoke emitting all around us to linger in that stagnant, still air. It's all right. Mine is Sen. It isn't my first name either. First names are much too important. In times like these, it's best to keep them to oneself. Sen, talking to me? A lowly rent boy? And if he was who I believed him to be, then he was one of the most powerful men of the Colosseum. This could be very dangerous. And right out in the open like this? Anyway, he continued, I see you a lot with that very beautiful woman. You know, in your little house down there? He gestured out to my exact tent, letting me know he knew exactly where I lived. That your sister? Wife? Sex thing? Yeah, she's my wife. Just married, in fact. Oh no, why did I just lie? Well, congratulations. She's very pretty. Relax, friend, I'm not wanting her. Could, though. He reminded me as he lit another cigarette. If I really wanted. But that's not why I'm talking to you, Herias. No. I see you as a man who has fooled many people. Many people. He took a deep puff. Not me, though. I can see what you are. What you could be, rather. If you mean me being a runt boy... No, not that. You are... He flipped around and leaned against the railing next to me. It was there that I noticed a few more shadows in the distance, just out of sight. In the shadows of the archway, section 8. He seemed to be thinking his words over carefully. And he finally said, a man whom I need. One that can help me. And if this man helps me, well, then I help him. You follow? How about a way out of here? Freedom, perhaps? And what help is this? Listen, Herias, you disappear among the crowd well. You blend in even though you frequent the same street over and over again. You get in and out without a second glance. No one expects you, nor do they miss you. It's like you're a ghost, someone who perhaps works in the shadows. I like that about you. You're someone who understands subtlety, I imagine, for not all your clients are females, and there are more than a few men here hiding their dirty little secrets. And there I might be in need of some secrets. You could say I'm in the business of secrets, actually, but not from a man, rather from a woman. Sexy thing. Dark, thick in all the right places. Though she's hard to reach. Someone high profile. But you can change that. He flicked his cigarette, then walked up casually to stroke my package. With this. This is how you work. I need you to help me. Then I can help you find a way out of this little cell you find yourself in. And how do you know I want to leave? I mean, there's nothing outside. It's all barren, full of plagueis. Not to mention that damn forest. He stopped me with a finger upon my lips. Ch-ch-ch. I know that look within your eye. I know what you really want. What you really heard deep inside. Heard? Just come with me. Okay, I have something to show you. He proceeded to take me through those great halls, and we waded into the hustle of a busy marketplace. All around us, the mass of people poured by, frantic and unnerved. Like wading through jelly, Sen cut us into the thick of it. Rabble of voices all echoing off the concrete walls. The game protects us. My eyes always caught the poster of the game. Of people fleeing, being hunted in the depths of that darkened forest which threatens all of our existence. In the wild, the strong devour the weak. There, the Grand Architect stood proud over the masses, a great mural of New Aeonia's fall and his saving of mankind. A mythic figure, one in some way I've always respected. When will the next game be? I asked myself. There we made for this great club called the Dugout. It was never meant to be lived in. It was a hole. And where people find a hole, they ask, where's the drink? The air was stale, layered, old sweat and poured alcohol. Damp concrete walls covered in blood and some other bodily fluids. It was a rough and tumble little getaway filled with violence and merriment, inebriation and solicitation. I had been there on more than a few occasions, though Sen made it apparent this was work. That wasn't new to me, of course, for in my mind I honestly thought, who am I gonna fuck? And why? I was when I was getting fucked up like that. I love getting fucked up. The presence of Sen was powerful to say the least.
And drinking lots.
He cut through all manner of men shouting and hollering. The women who normally threw themselves upon you took notice of him and steered clear. It was a sight to behold. They called him the one to go to, a king below the stands. He was not a gang leader per se, but he was a voice to the little folk. Not like those higher class nobles under the shadow of the Grand Architect. No, Sen was a sort of broker. That's not his title, that's just what people called him. He bleeds where we bleed, though I'm not really sure he looked out for anyone but himself. Drink, my friend, drink, he declared while we were giving a fine seat. I hadn't a clue what was before me. I hadn't seen it ordered. Things came to us with ease, so I took the shot. That burning clear liquid tore down my throat, but its warmth threw me into the back of my seat. Yet there was that cough, burp, and fight to keep it down. I knew you were a lightweight. No, I just don't like drinking very much. He patted my thigh, looking around the room with a smile, slightly dismissive, but more than a little fond. He flipped out another cigarette and said, well then, why would you drink if you didn't like it? A devilish smile crawled across his face. Plume of smoke poured from his nostrils. Well, I thought that's what you wanted. He laughed. Wanted? Right to the point. I like it, Herias. After a few shots, he finally began to loosen his plan on me. And I have to say, this was not something I had ever come to expect falling in my lap as it did. And I would never realize how it would have changed me forever on. He gestured to a woman entering the dugout. All seemed to grow quiet, like a noble entering the den of thieves. If Cain was the one to go to, this woman was his boss. She was dark, blacker than any woman I had ever seen, and there she commanded the room as always, finding herself among the average folk. What was her angle? Though people feared her more than respected her, a sort of felt power instead of that formal one in the upper decks. As she sauntered in the dugout, we watched, and she and her entourage were given the best booth in the house. All threw themselves at her, folk giving themselves to her power, begging for her favor or jobs. Though she would not hear it, she had the rabble pressed away by her armed guards to give way to merriment with her clique. She was untouchable, and as I watched Sen give her a dirty look, I knew this had something to do with what I was brought here for. Then he gave me one look and said, "Excuse me, I have a duty. I'll be right back." There he walked up to her as she embraced him easily. They spoke for a while. What they said I could not say through the rabble. Most likely business. Then he returned after a short while. So, I feel like a man as observant as you knows the order, right? Order? I feigned. Yes, come on. We're all somebody's bitch. I happen to be hers. But to put it real simple, he took another shot, making sure to avoid looking at her when he said, I intend to make her mine. How? Well, it's not me who's doing the doing, but you. He laughed, dragged from his cigarette. I crossed my arms, listening to him carefully. He spoke hushed, though I'm sure no one could hear us. Still, he was cautious. He was subtle. He rested his hand on my junk and said, I want you to have this in her. He shot back with a laugh and threw another shot down his throat. What? Why? I exclaimed. Hey, be a bit more subtle than that. Because that's what I ask. Then I can pay you proper and give you that freedom you seek. Set you on the path of true destiny or whatever. Come on. All you and that sweet little thing you share a tent with ever wanted. You just do this one thing for me and it's easy as shit. Fuck her. Get close to her. And I'll tell you what comes next. Deal? Jesus Christ, I thought. What the fuck? But I knew it had to be done. This was obvious to me. It was bait. Something to soften her vigilant eye. Something to let her guard down. Then boom! I looked at him and said, Nothing happens to my wife, right? Only if you play by the rules. Yes, sure, he winked at me. Then I knew I was on the hook. No looking back. I had my way out, though. It would only be a trial before the eventual escape. Then I could fulfill what was asked of me, God or otherwise. God, is this your plan? To endure through a man such as this? We made our way out to the dugout eventually, where Sen would lead me through those long halls into a wing I had never been before. One beyond a door clearly marked hazardous. There we descended down into the guts of the Colosseum, a place dark and full of danger.
I held it in my hand. I had that heart, though I could no longer hold on. It slipped from my fingers and landed there to squelch upon the frozen floor. Alone I sit.
Sen eventually met with some armed men down the dark hallway. There, the big burly men led us to their hideout, located within the guts of the Colosseum. Scattered, broken lights illuminated only a fraction of that mysterious place. The guts, I learned it was called, was where crime was at its peak. Places where the dispossessed were forced to, or where those few immigrants that came from the wastelands were placed. And thusly it turned into a crime den where not even a child would be safe. Some of the worst of mankind lingered by those burning trash bins. And there beyond that threshold, a series of strange rooms we happened upon, a dark and dingy little hideout. Aggressive music poured through blown amps, while a man screamed a drunken mess, hovering over a duct-taped microphone. I was captured instantly by the overwhelming smell of stale cigarettes and blood. Oh, boys, here he is. We've got one, Sen said, followed by a roarous laughter that faded into the din of inebriation and disastrous sounds. Now, these fellows will assist you with everything you need to know. There's much to discuss, but sadly I must be off. Business to attend to, I'm afraid. I'll see you on down the line, though. We'll talk soon enough. Good luck, kiddo. To which an aggressive pat on the ass threw me into the room. In time, I was gathered and placed at the faded laminate table, surrounded by a cast of misfits and junkies. Now, what struck me first was the stature of these men. Though they looked a hearty bunch, some even bulged with muscles, they were, however, shorter in stature than the average man. I would say maybe only 5'2" at the tallest. Kind of like a fucked up party of dwarves. Though these were not a kindly group, they were some of the worst the city had ever known. Men who lived as misfits and adventurers, gangsters, and social refuse at best. Now, the first man struck me as someone who bore a great weight upon his shoulders. The others clearly looked on him in a deep, fond respect. In his eyes, a fear was detectable. He introduced himself as Ben, a king among thieves. "So are you Sain's men, then?" I asked Ben, though they all broke out in laughter. "That's what he would believe, yes. So, you're the Herias, aren't you?" He looked almost nervous to see me. Something in his eyes, or how they would often avert my own with a dash. He quickly replaced them with a cool, quiet demeanor. "How did you know? I only met Same not long earlier." "It doesn't matter," he said dismissively. Instead, he turned to the group assembled in their massive stench. There were 6 of them, and they made sure to mention
Only half of our number.
mainly they were outlaws, thieves, poets, and conjurers of legend throughout the city. First, there was Cal. He was stoic in his heart, yet somehow he carried a great weight about him. Shoulders wide but weighed down. A downcast frown etched on his face. He endured much, that I could tell. Something in the way he shifted around. One after the other, he smoked cigarettes like they were illegal. In his thick matted beard, I could see the remnants of what seemed to be dried blood. Then, next to him was Asha, as he chose to be called. A necessary man. He was calm. He was accepting. Behind that toothy smile was a man who took life in stride and without complaint. Though his eyes were crooked, he had a deep wisdom in that blackened heart. He clearly was high, but chill in his demeanor. The largest man, and by large I mean maybe 5'3" in height, was Veer. He had thick, black-haired arms and a massive, broad chest. His open, faded blouse exposed a heart pendant about his neck. I dare not ask what it meant, for he looked a fighter, cauliflower ears and a crooked nose to boot. A man bred for war, a sentinel, cross-armed, watching over his tribe in silence. When his eyes fell upon me, it gave me a shudder with ease. Between them were 2 men seemingly joined at the hip. One older. He was only called Mem. Something profound washed around him. He looked a serious man of thought, but an air of loss at the same time, as if he knew much but forgot more. He would begin a sentence and seemingly forget words, how to use them. The smell of stale cigarettes on his breath and yellowed eyes looked on me confused yet profound. And next to him, his brother, slightly younger, though both over 40, was Thymos. He was sad, pure and simple, lost in his own thoughts, and more likely away in his mind, high on some drug. He was sweet, though, as sweet as a criminal could be. I watched him often look at a woman across the room, one clearly out of his league, but that didn't stop him dreaming. "So why does Sane want this so bad?" I finally asked. "I mean, I fucked for many reasons, but this? I just don't understand what's in it for him. I mean, it's a domination thing, because I know a guy..." "Listen," cried Ben. "Focus. There's much to discuss, and we don't have time to listen to your past lovers." Right? "I wouldn't question too much for your sake, Herias. It's a world you would never understand. These are the elites, and we just do what they say, just like you. We were hired, though for us, money. And just like you should, we do our job and that's all. No questions, no prying, nobody has to get hurt. Unnecessarily." He eyed Asha unconsciously. Asha broke in. "Everything happens as it should, big man. You would do well to heed that. Just sit back, chill, and dig what's up." "Exactly," added Veer. "No one need know too much. Then we can all get the score." To which Cal punched him in the arm, frustrated. "It doesn't matter. Let's just get to the task at hand. Ben, would you fill us in?" "First, we should tell Herias here his involvement. Once that's done, we can discuss the rest. A little more private, he said with a smile. The rest were in agreement, and there it was that I would learn of my purpose, one in which could safeguard my freedom. There only God could control me. "Your trick, Aya? That name ring a bell?" asked Ben. But before I could say anything, I was cut short by Mem. "Very powerful woman. Much comes and goes because of her. Get you anything you want, and one of the most influential women. She even has a, what's that called? You know that thing? He looked over to Thymos. Sway? Political sway? He replied with a lethargic voice, eyes watching the waitress. Right, sway. Mem shot his eyes to Ben and gave him a wink. Ben pulled out a cigarette and continued. Herias, your job is simple. Simple enough. I don't have to tell you what to do. Let your instincts do the work. Just get close to her, learn what you can, and get out. That's simple. If you have to fuck her, well, do it. If you don't, whatever. We need her distracted, see? And when the time is right, and she is fond enough to let her guard down, we'll be in touch. But first, before you go, because meeting adjourned as far as you're concerned, follow Mem. He'll have some information that will be very important to you. Now, he lit a cigarette, go. To which I got up, nodded to them, and quickly followed little Mem beyond that dingy, loud place, and into that long, dark, low ceilings and narrow halls, until we were in a quiet, dark room. Mem pulled out a flashlight from his jacket and began rummaging through some papers that were scattered on an old dusty desk. Once he found them, he handed them to me and said, There, that's all of them, I think. Honestly, I can't quite remember, but you'll make it, I'm sure. Now, there's an exit down the hall to the right. Here, he handed me this flashlight. Take this and head out the door and to the right, into the bowels. You'll find a staircase on your left, or right, eventually. That'll take you up to more familiar territory. Though don't let anyone see you come out from beyond the door when you ascend those stairs. To which he patted me on the ass and was off. But then he stopped, swung around, and pulled another light from his pocket. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot to tell you this. In future, we don't... Hold on. Wait a minute. Rummaging through his pocket and pulling a crumpled paper out, he read it quietly and finally said, Yeah, that's right. In future, don't come back here. And he read this part slowly with a question mark at the end. We'll find you if we need anything. This will be our place of meeting. This will be our place of meeting. Yes, that's it. Smoothing in his hand, he eventually handed it to me and was off, leaving me standing alone in the dark. I quickly panned over the notes he gave me first under that flickering flashlight, and a few choice words jumped out at me. Words like heroin, booze, and distribution. I placed them under my arm and looked at Mem's second paper. It only said, in a hastily scrawled handwriting, what he had told me, and suite number 3, bathroom. And that was it. Great, I said in a huff before making my way to sunlight. Turns out this Aya chick was no joke. She had everyone in her pocket. As the document said, she provided goods to all manner of folk. And it went all the way up to the top. There were drugs, services rendered for trade of illicit products of all kinds, and girls. Too young to speak of for my liking. But isn't that just how it goes? There were even rumors the Grand Architect was even named as one who sought services from her, though there was no information as to what his tastes could have been. At any rate, I had a job to do. It was simple, and as I thumbed through that dossier sitting back in that sun-baked tent, I was struck with her picture. I could place it, but there was something unique about Aya. No more than a mere mugshot, but I noticed in her eyes, behind that exterior which cried confidence, something that drew me in. And that would be my way to her, a way to her heart. I only need to discover what that soft spot was, and I knew just the man who could help me. It would only take a trip across the field to a club she was said to frequent. Just before I sat those papers down, the tent flap opened gently, and my love walked in. She bore a dark purple bruise under her left eye. That pain on her face quickly melted when her eyes met mine. Ignore it, she said, short but with a smile. What are you reading? As she let down her hair, gently those beautiful curly locks fell around her smooth white skin. Just a job, nothing more. I tried desperately to ignore that black eye. She knew I was seething on the inside. But could I do anything? No. And she reminded me all the time. She only took her eyes from mine, plopped down in her cot and sighed as sweat poured from her sweet brow. Do you really think we can escape this place? I was taken aback for a moment. Escape? You never talked about that before. She only looked to the floor in an almost embarrassment. I quickly said, I have no idea, but I think this job could be our ticket out of here. And for good this time. She looked back at me with an intensity that shook me to my core. And you won't leave me? Leave you? No, never. I'll always be at your side, just like I promised you when we were kids. You loved me then. I always have. I sought to comfort her, but when my hand approached hers, she quickly pulled it away. I should rest. I have a long day ahead. I'll marry her. One day I will. Getting to her. She's untouchable, Neckham shouted. Keep it down. Neckham was not the greatest of names for a man who suffered from that cursed disease, but he was okay with it. Didn't seem to bother him. Neckham was a great guy. Worked at the Fens as a bartender in one of the busiest bars around. A good guy for someone of his background. Herias, they don't hear anything. Come on, watch. Watch. Your penis is how small? See? Nothing. Okay, but still, what can you tell me about her? Aya? Well, besides her being an untouchable? Come, my friend. Why you think a woman like that could foster anything for a whore like you? No offense, my friend. It's a necessity. Anyway, I'm just curious, that's all. A woman like that, come on, you can't say you've never thought of. No, not a woman like that. She would never want a man with skin as tainted as mine, no. I'm afraid smooth, white skin, well, actually, you have the right complexion. And the build, too. I guess you could, but she won't want to touch an undesirable like yourself unless I have something to offer her myself. Come now, Neckham. I'm just looking for money so I can get out of the city, out into the wilds. It would be a great adventure. Adventure? You know nothing of what exists outside of the Colosseum, do you? I lived out there as a child. It's a horrible place. No, here is safe. And it's here you should be thankful. Thank Allah you are safe and sound here. But it's fucking horrible here. Crime, death, drugs. Can't escape it. At least out there I could have a chance to make something of myself. Even if that means death. It's better than what I have here now. Oh, but trust me, my friend, he said with a bow. It's far less dangerous than what lies out there. You've seen the game. On the Jumbotron, only death will await you out there. It's not like it was before the fall of New Aeonia. Plagueis roaming the empty streets. Well, they've now infested the city. And if you manage to make it out and into the wilds, well, then there's the forest. And that is something to penetrate. And I'm sure I don't have to tell you about that. Yes, but... And once out of that nightmare, it's endless desert as far as the eye can see. There's no telling what will await you, besides those roving nomads. Just as he finished, there was a hush in the crowded Fen congregation as Aya herself walked in. She poured through the room like a queen among the peasants, men and women offering to buy her a drink left and right, groveling at her feet, kissing the ground she walked on. And wrapped around her face was that smile. Though arrogant, it took me fully, until she was finally seated at her favorite table at the back. Her and that magnanimous entourage that bandied about her. Freaks, if you ask me, but mere entertainment to her extravagant whimsy. Come on, Neckham, I need this, please. Neckham flashed his eyes over to her, then back to me. He did it a few times before finally relenting with a sigh. Do you think I'm sexy? Come again? Yes. Do I think you're sexy? No. It's do you think I'm sexy? You know, Rod Stewart. She loves that song. And if you get her to dance with you, it's over. Especially for a guy like you. He turned from me to attend to other guests, leaving me alone in my thoughts. But then he said quietly to me,
Not many people know that, so be smart about it.
"Do you think I'm sexy? Rod Stewart, okay? I'll be honest, I haven't thought of that song in a while. But if it works, please don't be messing with me, Neckham." She was beautiful. That was to be sure. Her dark complexion, deep, dark brown eyes, and long braided hair looked exotic, to my mind at least. A woman thicker than I ever wanted to admit, and coming from a man no more than a whore, I was frightened. I was terrified what I was getting myself into. This was a person in the elite circle of life, and God knows a poor little toy like myself was little more than a knight to her. And when a toy is all used up by people like her, let's just say they seem to finish in a peculiar way. A way that means snuffing you out. It was sick, but true. Yet this was for a good reason. To leave this cursed place, to take up the mantle and fulfill what I knew I needed to do. Because beyond those dense woods, and after countless miles taking our chances in the Raider lands, there would be paradise. One which God himself had shown me, and I knew he had my back. Though silent, I knew he watched me with that bated breath. I could never disappoint him, but more importantly, I could not disappoint her, too. My love. Then I couldn't live with myself. Working up the courage, I approached, though everything in me screamed to stop, to turn around. Please don't make a fool of yourself. But before I could chicken out, I was met by a hand on my chest. A massive hulk of a man looked at me over his large, oversized nose that held those thick, dark sunglasses over his eyes. They seemed to blend into his skin with the same complexion. Aya gave me one look. Her eyebrows rose, and she motioned for him to let me by. I saw a warm smile on her face, and in those eyes, they danced over my body. I knew I was in. She invited me to sit next to her as she pushed away some dark, handsome guy.
Come here, sit closer to me, my dear. You look comfy.
She looked over me like she wanted to eat me alive. Squirming in my seat slightly, she said,
And who might you be, Big Shoulders?
"Someone who wants to know you as much as you want me." Aurora's laughter, which was followed by her entourage mimicking her enthusiastically.
Really now?
The woman was the most powerful woman in all the Colosseum. And what could I offer her? What could I give her on which she already has an overdose on? My mind raced and raced in those fractions of seconds, and then it came to me. I can see in your eyes you wanna. And as I said that, I licked my lips tastefully, yet slowly, as those thoughts would say, have a good time. I quickly rose up and went over to the jukebox, desperately hoping they had it. Searching and searching, finally, it was there. Do you think I'm sexy, Rod Stewart? As the music came out, I moved to it, slowly working my way back to her, and in her eyes I could see glee. She only again let out a roar of laugh and rose from her seat to meet me on the dance floor. There our hearts were taken by the music, and soon enough time slipped away. Our eyes fell deeper and deeper into one another, until finally it was only me and her. And that's when I knew right then I had her right where I wanted her. The game would begin. I could have danced there all night, sounds pulling in closer, taking my breath with it. And all I wanted was to have her closer to me, to feel her body against mine. Quiet arousal, passion born there like love in the sheets. I knew love. I'd known it before, but never like this. To be taken fully by passion. And there I would live. It was my ecstasy. The air that I breathed, far deeper than ever before. Perhaps it was so new, or perhaps I knew my life was on the line. But in that moment I was free. With her hands upon me, I melted there. A passionate blaze fanned our fiery hearts, a tremble like ragged whispers upon our bodies. I was taken. I was lost and gone, and unknown for a long, long time. There reborn anew, and just like that, she was mine, and I hers. Her warm, sexy laugh filled my ears as we talked the night away, and the more I was there, the more she opened up. She tested me. She tried to guess what it was that I was thinking, but I gave her next to nothing. I just listened, waited, bided my time, just giving her that acceptance she craved until it became unbearable to her. But the night winded down. People left, and soon enough, she did as well. We all scattered naturally. I didn't see her for a while until, there again, she reappeared before me. And before she took off, she handed me a note that read, "The Leviathan, ASAP." Dhove sat with his head in his hands. Then he rose up, smoothed back his brown, golden hair. So he didn't die then? He's a prostitute? He followed with a resounding sigh, expelling the stale air from his lungs.
You're confused, Dhove?
Yes, of course I am.
Oh.
It's... No. He calmed himself with another deep breath and began again.
Oh, hold on. Let me get my pipe for this. Hold on.
So, he said he was a god before, but somehow he's living through this man called Herias, right? And he was a result of the plague, but maker of it? Because he left. And somehow, he's remembering again as we go through these memories. Dhove paused briefly for a moment to think deeply. And he finally said, I interacted with him before. I was there, as he stated. Just, we haven't come to that point yet. Working our way forward, yes? The guy hid a laugh under his billowing cloak. Though Dhove was no fool, the snickering reverberated through his confused mind with ease. Yet he chose to ignore it as much as he could. No, I did interact with him, Dhove started again. But then you said, is this real or not? A dream? What was that word you said again? A psychosis. But it's... Herias is recalling this, clearly. From one memory, we come to another. But I'll be honest, this memory did not start as I would have imagined it. But here we are anyway. I mean, so I'll imagine Herias did survive the first plague, and this is at some later point in his life. How much later, I can't say. The man is apparently timeless because he can't be a shade over 25 here. Though half the life already happened in the last memory, yet here we are. And it seems he's lived a totally different life here. But this is another life? I'm confused. Perhaps that sensation of death was a psychosis he had. Something that blocked a memory hiding away. Something remembered wrong. And it went into protection mode. Blank it away. And if memory can blank itself from protection, then consciousness itself can shift. This is uneven ground.
Protect him? Protect him from what?
I don't fucking know, cried Dhove. I have no fucking idea. But here we are in this memory. For whatever reason, we are here. And that's about all I can say about it. But, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so angry. I'm so confused. I'll bear in mind what you said to me. To wake up, to help him. I'll keep trying to watch. Something tells me I need to press forward more, though. Something to make it all clear. If not for me, then for Herias.
You or him? Which one, Dhove?
Dhove rubbed his head frustrated. If it's a god, he thought, it must function as a god. If it's a plague, it has to have a cause. If it's this memory, he said aloud, well, it must have a purpose, like a riddle hiding within it. And I have to break it apart, but I cannot make sense of it. It's random, non-linear. He let out a sigh. Confusing. Let's just keep going, I guess.
This is not something you can solve with logic, Dhove. You simply cannot break it apart, categorize it, and study it like a blueprint. Look at you, Building another wall, a theory, running another experiment, watching another memory. You always press forward, always seek so deeply that which eludes you. Maybe it would be good to separate yourself from this for even just but a brief moment. Take a moment to look around you here. In Herias himself, not the screen of his life, there's something that is conceptual, archetypal. The blueprints that give you ease hide all around you. Maybe there's something that could bridge the gap between what you can and cannot see.
Without question, Dhove looked him over suspiciously through his fingers, and then took himself from before that screen. His eyes broke the trance it played on his soul.
What is it in this room, Dhove? Honestly, look around us and tell me what you see.
His eyes first caught sight of that strange throne. It pulsed with those dark black veins that hid under the thin, synthetic, translucent skin. The walls covered with massive churning computers, though above and below looked like some hollowed-out carcass. There it was reshaped and covered with a veneer of artistic expression, like a cathedral meant to invoke the holy, only showing its sway over the minds of man, twisted and retooling their will. Script danced on screens placed into the rib-like arches. It was once alive and now artificial. Man's hand lay all around, and though he wanted to call the blame unto Thais, he could not admit it, but he had needed to admit it was his own making. It was crafted for him, for the ease he felt under the flickering lights overhead, and perfect, measured uniformity gave him a guilt-ridden peace. Straight lines, purposeful walls, monitors and sensors, control, a nerve center, all for me. It was made by me, wasn't it? The guide quietly watches him. Something that seeks to be life, but never could. It's a lie. He walked over to the throne to unceremoniously sit. And from here, all under my control. He rested his hands upon the arms of the throne and paused. It was warm. Not the sterile warmth of circuitry under strain, but the measured heat of flesh. He withdrew his hands slowly, as though it might have noticed. He returned his eyes back to the screen with Herias' life scrawled over it, to which he peeled himself out of the chair and back to it. The overwhelming urge took him as Herias waited with bated breath. They had renamed it the Leviathan. Why? I could not rightly say, but there was something sterile about it. It smelled of medicinal ointments and Bengay, though the last remnants of what that room once was had long ago been hauled away, carved out and reshaped into a little club, one for the select group of people, the elite, I should say. What it must have looked like in its former glory. All those warriors of the past brought here to get fixed up or taking a cold bath. Those men paid millions to play a game as old as the nation. It really did make me sad when I thought about the past, even though sometimes it might have felt more like a fever dream than some distant utopia. I would find my way into Leviathan after speaking to the bouncers. They already had my name and let me right in. It was the first time I had ever had that kind of treatment. As I made my way through the cramped crowd dancing and vibing to that old electronic music, I would eventually find myself lured to dance. Some hypnotic craze took me. Surrounded by beautiful young women, I was loosened and free. Then I could feel hands gripping me at the waist. I turned round, and there she was, deep dark eyes looking passionately into mine. There were no words, only our bodies moving in tandem. Every move, every friction, some new exotic sensation passed through me.
You move well.
She said as she pulled me from the floor and thrust me into her private booth. There a woman danced naked upon our table. My eyes only danced over her perfectly crafted body. But then my sight was broken by a sudden grip on my chin. Aya turned me to face her and kissed me passionately. I could feel her tongue thrusting, exploring my mouth. Forceful, probing, but curious, playful. She broke with a smile and a laugh under her hand.
Ooh, and he kisses well, too?
She let out a shrill squeal. She was remarkably sweet. Once he got past her tough exterior. She was lustful, that was not to be understated, but the more I spoke with her, the more I began to see her softer side. Only then when she and I were alone. A deep conflict grew within me. One fought between duty and bliss. Eventually, we were able to get away from the frenzy into the quiet hall alone. There my resolve had fallen away, heightened by the fear that coursed through me. And when her eyes fell upon mine, I was lost there to flounder. She started telling me all her triumphs, all those things, all those men that she bested in the game. Now she rose from nothing in a man's world. I began to learn this woman with the hard exterior had a sweet past, one where she was no more than me. She was a prostitute. Well, we could say slave for a group of marauders in the wastelands. Her village out beyond the wastes was destroyed, and she and her sister were forced to be sex slaves for some fucked up man playing at king. She eventually escaped to wander through the desert until finally finding the Colosseum, smack in the middle of the ruined Aeonia. That's where she would carry a deep sense of guilt, leaving everything behind her for the new life she would have here. Even that sister, one in which she never told me her name, nor did I get the whole story either. She would stop and say that I reminded her of some part of that young woman, what was lost. I didn't push on that any further. Not then. But I began to see this woman in a new light, one that would prove very useful for Sen, indeed. Though the thought of betraying her grew more in my mind. I began to experience something I had not felt for another person before. Even the woman I wanted to marry. As hard as that was to admit, this woman, well, she captured me fully. What was it that Sen saw as such a threat? She was a strong woman who clearly didn't take no for an answer, but no different than any other of the elites. Clearly, there was more going on than I was led to believe. And though I was frightened for my life, I could not imagine my freedom should have a cost so high. A fear of what Sen and his mercenaries could do. But what if I told Aya? Would she kill me outright? After all, I was tasked to expose her, weaken her, and betray her trust altogether. That was enough to have my fucking head. But would she do that to me? Yet, she was in my place once, at the whim of greater men. Just a small pawn on the chess table. So that was when I decided to take fate into my own hands. Damn the consequences. Tell her the truth. Then, there was a buzz in my head. A warning. Something quietly lingering there. Well, maybe not the whole truth anyway. I worry for you, I finally said after a long silence together. Heads pulled apart with their own reflections met back again. My words echoed off the long, tall halls that closed us.
Worry? Honey, there's no need to worry. I have this handled. I've seen too much in this world to let myself slip over some small inconvenience. I know the game. How to play it and its pitfalls. A little fun every once in a while won't bring no harm.
No, it's not that. I strained to think of something that would implicate me. Anything. I've heard a lot of what's going on between you and Sen is all. He seems a dangerous man if not kept in check, you know?
Sen? That two-bit thief? Little Sen? He's one of my men. I have him on a very short leash. He wouldn't dare try anything.
She stroked my chin gently. I've heard that he's been watching everything you've been doing, like a hawk. Even trying to get people in your crew to rat on you. I mean, I don't really know why, but it's the word around, you know? I hope like hell she wouldn't see me in this. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. Picking sides was not something I did well. A man on the fence, watching the game without ever taking part.
And how did you hear about this? Lips are always tight around me. Please, enlighten me.
She leaned back slightly, looking me over with a little bit more than subtle distrust. I then panicked. though I dare not show it. Years of working as a doll taught me how to handle such delicate conversations. Sweet talking, we called it. Not letting the client on to your true intent, though my care was making it a bit more difficult than it had ever been before. Sweat began to seam from my hairline, something she noticed quickly as she wiped it away, holding it there in her thumb and examining it cautiously. I'm a doll. I've just heard a lot from some people. That was it. Things maybe they wouldn't want you to know, but maybe these things pass easily to people like me. We know more than trash in the bin. Nodding her head as if she had acknowledged a thought, her eyes fell away from mine and deep into the recesses of her own. I watched with eyes as big as saucers. What's the matter? I finally said. Her eyes broke from their trance and fell into mine again. There she closed her mouth to give me a smile, stroking my cheek again.
You're very sweet, honey, but there's much on my mind. You just helped me realize how much work there still really is. It's a lot, you know. To be a woman in a man's world, I can't afford to have...
Distractions? I understand. If you want me to go, she cut me off.
No! I never know what could happen, and who might get caught up in it.
She sighed.
Sometimes, baby, people who have no place in this game are thrown in as pawns.
Then she looked at me gravely.
And they are only trying to survive themselves. I understand. But I really care for you. I see so much of myself in those eyes looking back at me. I just don't know what your intent is. Do you understand? I have no idea what you really want, Herias, baby.
How could I tell her I didn't as well? How could I betray her? How could I aid her?
It took a lot of guts coming here. But I had to be sure. Have to be sure.
She placed her hand around my neck, half playful, half serious.
I had to be sure that you won't jeopardize everything I've done, right?
Her hand around my neck grew tighter, though still it was playful, in some strange, sick way. Yes, of course.
Sen's not as clever as he thinks. Just know that your worry...
She took her hand from my neck.
...is noted. If Sen is a little surprised, then we should have one for him as well, shouldn't we, darling?
Yes, I agree.
And you will help me. We can finally rid the world of men like him. Men who would bring down poor little ones as us, right?
Yes, I will help you however you want. Just please help me not lose everything. Everything I care about. My thoughts returned to my love alone in that tent.
Of course, baby, of course.
God, what have I gotten myself into?
Echoed Herias as the machine, whirring, disrupted Dhove's immense concentration. He continued.
To be stuck between two was most frightening indeed. I can recall that fear of choice. How could I ever know what would be right for me, for Aya, for Sen, and more importantly, for her, my love.
Who was she? Asked Dhove. Who is that woman you keep mentioning? You never gave her a name, or said more about her than being in that tent there.
Honestly, I can't recall. I know the face, but can't place the name. She was like some specter to me, hidden in the deep depths of my ever-moving mind. Even though these memories come flooding back, still is she a mystery to me. For I know deep in my heart that she is the love of my life, and that I would do anything for her. Though what world did I get caught in? The world of the elites? Even as lightly as I sought to tread in it, it was far too deep. And what course could I take that would have saved her? One that would take her from the misery that surrounded us? Who knew if Sen would only use us and then kill me? Or if Aya, who we began to feel so deeply for, well, who knew if she really cared for me as much as her eyes said? I could have been no more than an empty reminder of what she once was, something she hated deeply. But how could I know?
But you made a choice, right? You would choose to help her. It was more than clear that's what you intended.
Intended? Choice? The only choice I would be making was my own sad death, one that was brought about by my own hand. To end my misery, God or not, divine plan or great joke, it didn't matter. I decided to take my own life, to end it all.
No, you don't, cried Dove. I mean, you couldn't have. I can see the memory before me now. You chose love over your own freedom. It's right here before me. I can see the words on the screen. Here, look. The guide interrupted.
Dove, be careful what you call love. Sometimes it's only recognition, and recognition can be fatal. Ask yourself, are you seeing what happened, or what you need to believe what had happened?
It can't be my choice, no. But Herias, you know that you care deeply for people, that you want to help them, and no matter the danger, you would seek to help, right? Forget Sen for a moment. Forget sitting there on the fence and being afraid to commit. You have to help those people for their own good. Aya, and the love of your life, and the countless you would save if you followed this all through. Don't you remember the words of your creator? Ones you said, was you? Herias, this is your conscience. That creator speaking of the promised land, that's you. A part of you, unknown still. You can't give up now. You must sacrifice yourself for those you care about. For what's right, what's good. Damn the consequences. We need stability here. Your words are fractured on the screen. I can see conflict within you. You would not choose death by your own hand. You would help them. Follow your heart. The machinery rang around them as Herias remained silent, deep in thought. There it stayed for what felt like a lifetime to Dove. And then Herias spoke. And when he did, it sent chills down Dove's spine.
Yes. To give up everything and walk away was what I did before, wasn't it? Leaving that poor man to witness the death of his wife and mother-in-law, to let him fall into loneliness and eventual death. No, I cannot. I will not. It's time to save all those I care about. And wait. As the memory comes back to me now, yes. Oh yes, I can see it now. I choose love. I choose Aya. I choose assured death over fear.
The lights around Dove flickered. A deep surge passed through all the electronics, causing some to flicker. Others, a storm of electricity passed through them and exploded. Like too much power, they destroyed their host. Dove rose from his seat. The guy did nothing but watch as he moved to and fro, putting out the fires until eventually they were doused. And in that silence, the guide peered suddenly over Dove's shoulders to say,
And now we have taken the path of no return. You have committed, Dove. You must help him through if he's going to change the outcome of his own life.